What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today we are going to work on the GTO some more. We're going to get some painting done, maybe some more reassembly, possibly get some stuff ready to reprime for final blocking. So let's get to work. Alright, so one of the first things that I want to get done today is I want to paint this upper cowl area here and the dash here, which is supposed to be satin black, because then everything that's gray primer, like here and up here, that all gets painted red afterwards. So I figured I'd get the black painted now. I have to get way in this area here. It's all been sandblasted, get it ready for paint, and then we'll paint it satin black. And then after that, we're gonna get to work on these front fenders. I have some filler here I gotta sand and clean up, kind of go over the whole fender and get it ready for high build primer for hopefully the final block sanding before paint. So that's what we're gonna do. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go over the whole thing with like a Scotch-Brite pad, just clean it up, get any loose dirt, any slight surface rust, and then kind of go over it and see if there's any little areas I gotta clean up at all. This has been primered with like a primer sealer. I'll probably do this with the primer sealer also. But I'll scuff this down to get any dirt and crap from sitting, and I'll probably recoat the whole thing with the primer sealer. I think what I also might do is, you can see here some of the factory seam sealer, and pretty old and crusty, and some of it's missing. There should probably be some in there in that little hole. I'll probably spend a bit of time cleaning that out and then re-seam seal it maybe before I prime and paint it, just so that it looks nice. All right, so as you can see, I scraped some of that stuff out here a little bit. I'm still gonna get this off. A lot of it actually is on the part that's gonna get painted red, but I might as well clean it up now and get it ready. Here's another reason why it's good to probably pull the seam seal out, especially if you've sandblasted the whole car and stuff. You can see here underneath the seam sealer, there's some rust here. Just surface rust, but I'll probably try to sand it out first a bit, and then I'll use that rust converter stuff that I have and kind of put some of that in there to hopefully stop it so that no rust starts back up. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing that, just scraping it with a screwdriver and a razor blade, clean everything up, and get ready to seam seal it. I got all that cleaned off. I also cleaned off a bunch of spots where there was just random seam sealer. Obviously the guys from the factory weren't very careful if they made a mess. I got all the rust clean out of there and on that side. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna mask off this part here, protect all this, and then I'm gonna primer the whole thing with a sealer primer, and then I'll go back over it after and I'll seam seal up all the seams, let it dry, and then it'll be time for paint. All right, so as you can see, I got it all masked off. Now I'm gonna paint this black part mainly. I'm gonna concentrate on the parts that are bare metal, obviously. Coat them good wherever As you can probably hear, the heat's going. That's because it's a little chilly out. We actually had a big snowstorm here, which is crazy because it's pretty early in the year to have a snowstorm. It's relatively warm right now, and it's warm, it's not really warm, but the snow is melting. It's supposed to be warmer in the next couple days, but you know, hopefully it'll all melt. I still want to be able to drive the S10 in the car maybe once or twice more. And now I'm going to be out of primer here. See if I got more. All right, so I ended up finding another can of primer and I gave it a nice coat. I'll just have to let that dry and then seam seal. Let the seam sealer dry and it'll be time to paint it. One thing about doing body work, when you're doing body work on a fender and a door, say both sides or one side, you always end up with body filler on the inside edge. So you got to make sure you get that out, or else you know, it won't look too good. I also realized that right here is where I had welded in a lower patch panel. You can actually see it from here. I had to replace just this little section of the fender with a patch panel. So I welded it in here. I have to do a little body work here. So I'll put a little filler here and smooth that out. And then kind of go over the rest of the fender, see what else I have to do. Same thing, like here I just got to sand a little bit of filler off, probably on the front here where the headlight bucket was. There needs to be a little cleanup so that we can get it ready, ready to reprime. This is just drying, so I figured while it's drying I might as well work on something else. All right, so I just mixed up a little body filler. Just gonna put it in here. Once again, you probably could just leave it because you'll never be able to see in here, but let's make it nice. You gotta really be careful when you mix your filler because it kind of sucks to waste it, you know. And I mean, I have a little here, which isn't a ton, but it'd be better if I could use it on something rather than waste it. But oh well. Like last time, I'm using this Napa seam sealer stuff, and pretty much we're just gonna. Some of it I'll just have to kind of put it in there. I should have actually bought a new tube because this stuff's kind of getting a little. Seal up everything nice so that it doesn't rust and moisture doesn't get in there, and then it won't get inside the car. I don't know. It's how the factory did it, so that's how we're doing it. So they did a lot messier job than I'm doing. All right, so that's basically it. I'm gonna do the other side, and then we'll let it dry, and we'll be ready for paint. I ended up doing across the front because there was kind of a big gap there, so I got that too. This car, I guess, you know, was rusty at one point, and unfortunately the body by Fisher tag that would say what paint options and all that, it was gone when I got the car, and I just put a bit of filler here because it was really pitted from rust. So apparently there is companies that will reproduce them, I guess. I have Pontiac Historical Services documents documenting this car as a GTO and what color it came and all that kind of stuff. So I know it's right. Unfortunately, that tag just happens to be missing. Yeah, so I put a bit of body filter. I put a bit of, that's like a tongue twister. I put a bit of body filler over that just to clean up that little bit of pitting rust area. So I'll sand that down once it's dry, and then we'll let this seam sealer dry good, clean it up a bit, and then we'll be ready to paint. Masked off and ready to paint. I'll start with a first light coat and then let that tack up, and then probably put like 2 or 3 coats on. All right, so that's gonna be the first coat. I put 2 more coats on. I just finished the second one, so I think it turned out pretty good. Now I'll let it dry and then unmask it and see how it turned out, and then we will move on to doing something else. A couple days later now, I let it dry, I unmasked everything, and as you can see, it turned out really nice. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna actually put some new parts on. I know it's kind of weird because the car's not painted, but I mean, this is painted, and pretty much now when I paint any of this stuff, I'm gonna have to mask the black off anyways, and obviously I'd rather get overspray on the black than I would rather not get overspray on the finished color on the outside panel. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna put in the what they call the wiper transmission that holds the wipers, which has all been sandblasted and painted and pretty much restored. I got these cowl grates, which obviously go over these holes. I bought those new. I got these rubber bumpers that go in a couple spots there. I also have the hood to cowl seal, which is brand new. Like I said, I mean, I could wait until the car's done, but realistically, this stuff gets done and then it gets masked over when any painting is involved anyways. And then I'm also gonna put in the, I'm gonna have to move all this stuff, and I wanna put in the heating ducts that go in the dash, all that kind of stuff. And then I might even put the dash in soon, because if I put the dash in, then I could hook the wiring up and actually get the car running again. But I'm actually been looking at putting fuel injection on it, and Summit Racing sells a fuel injection setup. So I'm kind of been asking around what people think of it. It's similar to the Holley Sniper or Phytech that just bolts onto the carburetor. Kind of kicking around that idea because I think it would be really nice for drivability. So we may be doing that soon. But for now, let's start bolting on some of this stuff. I'm going to start with putting this mechanism back in carefully, hopefully, without scratching everything. Another thing, of course, is I took all this apart so long ago, I don't even quite remember how it all goes back together. There we go. It's a little tight going in there. And then the other thing that goes on is this mechanism here, like that. Now that those are in, I'm going to attach these little rubbers. Here's the original one versus the brand new one. You can see how squished down it is, which I'm assuming the old one or new one will get squished down like that too eventually, just to see how they look, because they're going to have to come out again. Antenna wire plus the hoses for the washer runs through them. I could have just reused the old ones, I had them, but they weren't that expensive to get new ones, so I just bought new ones. They definitely make it look nicer, that's for sure. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is put this on, which is the hood to cowl seal, which just goes into these holes along here, seal it up when the hood's closed. Another thing is that when I took the car apart, I actually bagged up every single thing in little bags. Unfortunately, after so many years, it's hard to read some of the writing, but everything I ever took off the car is pretty much in most of these buckets and some boxes, so that I wouldn't lose anything. So there is some stuff I still have to look for, probably sandblast and paint before I can bolt it on. All right, what's up guys? So it's the next day. I'm out here. I worked on the GTO a little bit today. The guys were here. I didn't really do any filming, but I'll show you what I did. I fit this this molding weather stripping that goes from the cowl here to the up to the seal the hood. One tech tip about that, if you're doing this, the seal will come like, it's got a cut in it like this, where the clips go inside, that goes to the back. I had to do some research to figure that out. There's supposed to be some little plugs that go in here. I ended up just using rubber grommets that I had, a box of rubber grommets. The other thing I did today too was I had to dig out the antenna wire, which is there now, and then this ducting for the heat. That's all mounted in there now. That antenna, it actually goes right there, and then the windshield plugs into it, has a little wire sticking out. I also dug out my Fisher body service manual that I bought and this GTO restoration book. And I'll tell you, having this kind of stuff when you're restoring a car is really like important, because it really tells you lots of stuff. Like quickly, you know, it shows diagrams, factory diagrams of where this goes and where that goes and how this is on, and just all kinds of stuff like that. You know, how your radiator support, where all the clips, bolts, etc. go. This Fisher body service manual is kind of the same thing. It goes into some even more in-depth, how to put together various things. It pretty much covers everything. This one's kind of a standard for all 71s. So it also includes station wagons, convertibles, and like all kinds of stuff like that. Definitely good to have if you're restoring a car. So if you're ever restoring anything, a Camaro or a Nova or one of these, it's definitely a good thing to have. I think next time I'm gonna get the horns mounted. I got a bunch of stuff here that can get bolted on, especially now that I have this manual. That'll definitely help me. I'll quickly show you the bolt box that I bought. So this comes with like all the different bolts for everything, for the fenders, the shims, shim packs, bolts for the inner fenders, etc. More shims, more bolts. The only thing that it seems to be short of is these. There's tons of these bolts, the 5/16 bolt, which holds on quite a bit of stuff on the car, but it didn't really come with enough of those clips, which maybe they expect you're going to reuse your old ones, or it doesn't cover everything that you need them for. They're like go like this so you can put the bolt in. So I ended up ordering some from Amazon. I got a couple of packs coming, so I'll have lots of those soon. So yeah, in the next episode of it, we'll keep working on it and get ever closer to getting this thing done. So like always, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll check you later.